Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to another TMDSAS office hour. My name is Sulema and I am the TMDSAS Support Coordinator with TMDSAS. If you have been with us for a long time, have been joining our sessions, welcome yet once again. If you are new to our platform and this is the first time that you are joining us for the office hours, welcome. This is another opportunity for applicants to receive answers to their questions, an opportunity for you to get those questions answered live and quickly. And I will do my best to help you out with answering those questions, as well as being able to provide some additional insight into the application cycle trends that we are noticing, as well as dates and deadlines. So, with that being said, we do have less than or a week until the application deadline for EY24. That application deadline for dental and medical school will be on November 1st at 11:59 p.m. So this timeline actually fits with a lot of the schedules and deadlines that our applicants are used to as being in college. Courses and assignments are due typically around midnight. So that's another deadline to keep in mind. If you haven't already submitted your application, you still have time. You still have about a week. And so we highly recommend that you check out the resources that we have available at your disposal. You have, obviously, here you have the Team DSCS office hours. You also have the Team DSCS application guide, which will help you fill out your application section by section. It'll tell you important things that you have to take into consideration, things to note, how to fill out the section. You also have the application walkthrough. So if you are a little bit more visual and need that kind of assistance, we definitely have that in our YouTube channel as well. It's actually a very popular video. We do have a lot of views on that, but it is actually long as well. So if you're ready for about 2 hours to kind of just dive deep into the application, what it looks like, what sections you can anticipate to see, how to fill them out. We do go over those into more detail on the application walkthrough. Alrighty, so wanted to share the deadlines and dates that are important for this cycle. Because again, the application deadline for dental and medical applicants will be due on November 1st at 11:59 p.m. But we did want to emphasize that this is for your primary application. Your letters of evaluation are not needed. You don't need to have those at the time of submission. You can actually still have time to submit those at a later time, and that deadline will be on November 15th. We also wanted to note that while this is a deadline, if you submit your letters after that date, TMDSDS will continue to process those and upload them to your application. However, it will be up to the schools to determine if they will accept those since they will be posted after the November 15th date. So just something to keep in mind. Yes, you can go ahead and submit your application without the letters, without your test scores, without your transcripts. The deadline for November 1st is specifically for your primary application. The letters of evaluation are due no later than November 15th. Your test scores, once those become available to you, you can definitely release those. Upon releasing the scores, it can take about up to 36 hours for TMDSCS to receive those scores. Once those are received, they will be available on your application for all of your schools to see. And so if they already have your application on their end, what that looks like is that they will get a flag in their system letting them know that there's an update specifically with the test score. And so they'll be able to download that new information. So we don't resend your application. We don't necessarily send them the update. It's more of it's readily available for them to download on their end. And schools download information regularly, but it kind of just depends on when they decide to do that. Some schools will download new information daily, some every other day, weekly. It just depends on the school's end, but that information is readily available once it is updated on your application. For transcripts, that's another thing that we typically get about this time of the year, especially with deadlines. It's the assumption that your primary application is due and everything else along with it, as well as transcripts. Um, However, we are different than other application services who, like MCAS, do require you to submit all of your things at once. So with TMDSAS, we do have a different policy regarding transcripts. So I put it down in the chat. Basically, Team DSCS will send an email requesting your transcripts only if you've been accepted as a dental, medical, or podiatry applicant, or if you're a veterinary applicant and you've been interviewed. That's when you can anticipate to hear back from TMDSCS reaching out to you asking for your transcripts. In that email, you'll receive information about how to send those in, and a link to information that we have in the application guide regarding transcripts. So we do have now, at this point in the cycle, as of October 15th, medical schools started sending out acceptance offers. So that is triggering the system that we have in place to send emails to those who have been accepted at this point. So if you did receive your email notification requesting for you to send in your transcripts and you are still taking fall courses at this time, you can actually wait to submit those. So any transcript that you have that has fall 2023 courses, you can wait to submit that until you are done with that course. So you can send this in at the end of the semester. That way you don't have to spend money, um, no headaches or stress regarding the first delivery of a transcript and then again, because we don't want to make that, uh, we want to make it as less difficult than it can be for our applicants. However, if you do have other transcripts, such as a community college or a school that you took online while also attending your main institution, those transcripts, you can go ahead and get those sent out to Team DSCS. All right. So with the DAT, we did have some questions in the past few weeks about the DAT. When is the last day that you can take your DAT? And the thing is, with DAT scores, it is recommended that you take your DAT for the first time or retaking it by December 1st at the latest. And the reason for that is because December 15th is when the dental schools start sending out acceptance offers to dental applicants. So if you want to be considered for that first batch of acceptance offers, it will be best if you go ahead and uh, take your DAT. Sorry, losing my train of thought here. It's better to take your DAT as soon as possible, definitely before that, by that December 1st date, to ensure that you'll get considered in time for those acceptance offers that are going out. And with the ADA account that you have, you will log in. You'll have to release your scores. You can release it to at least one Texas dental school. Um, Feedback from applicants is that it does cost every time that you get it sent out to a different dental school. So that's why TMDSAS only needs you to send it to at least one Texas dental school. So that way, by default, TMDSAS will also receive the scores. Once those are received on your application, any other school that you selected that you are also applying to will also have those scores available to them. And if you need any more information about how to release your DAT score, I'll go ahead and list it in the chat. And just keep in mind that once you receive your score and it gets released, it can take some time for it to be received. Or, sorry, after you take your DAT, it can take some time for you to receive the score. So, also just be mindful of that. I believe applicants have said it could take about 4 to 6 weeks. Double check that with the ADA. But that's something also that you want to consider with your scores. I can also quickly provide some information about MCAT. So releasing your MCAT score. It's a similar process. For this, you will also go to your AMC account. There is instructions in in this link. You will find instructions on how to release those MCAT scores. But typically, once those scores become available to you, it can take up to 36 hours for TMDSAS to receive those. Again, those will be available on your application and readily available for all your schools to see, and you will be able to check the status of your scores. There is instructions in that link as well how to find that page. It's the status page where you can locate the receipt of your scores, what to do if your scores still say not received after the 36 hour period, and what you can do to resolve that issue. It typically is about mismatch information. So if you have the incorrect AMC ID or DNT PIN number, test dates, or date of birth, any of those three components listed inaccurately in your application could cause a delay in receiving that score, matching it to your application. So just be mindful of that. Check those areas. If you've already released your score, it's been over 36 hours and it still says not received. Alrighty, so I already talked about the application, letters of evaluation, scores, and transcripts. I forgot to mention this, but if you do have any questions, feel free to insert those in the chat. And again, I'll do my best to answer them as best as possible. And we'll be here from anywhere between 30 minutes to about an hour, just depending on how long we need to be here to answer applicant questions. Don't be shy. Go ahead and list your questions down below. All right, we do have our first question. Can I set up a call to discuss a residency appeal? I uploaded new documentation to support this, but not sure how to expedite this. I already applied. Okay, perfect. All right, so with unfortunately, we don't have a way for you to get some communication about residency appeals or residency in general over the phone. As a team DSCS, we don't have residency specialists on the phone, and that's why we don't have a residency option whenever you call our number. So it is best to discuss this internally in your messaging feature in your application portal. If you've already submitted an appeal and you received your decision, I believe that is it. That is up until the point that you can submit any other documentation, because that appeal decision has been made. But just to be sure, since I don't have access to see your information, and also this would probably not be the best platform because this is specific to your case. But definitely, what you can do is send a message in your application portal. If you've already started that process, if you already got that decision, go ahead and ask your questions in there. This is actually the best way to communicate with TMDSAS, especially if regarding residency, your appeal, etc., as it will be tied to your applicant liaison. So after you submit your application, it gets processed. Each applicant has an applicant liaison that um, process that application has knowledge about your coursework and your residency case, and they can provide additional insight regarding your specific case. So, this is true for course appeals and residency appeals. So, for any of those questions, definitely send a message in your Team DSAS application portal. And I hope that was helpful. I'm not a residency specialist, so I wouldn't be able to address those questions either. All right. And then just so I can understand some of the information here for residency, just going to quickly outline what that process looks like, um, just from the information we have. Okay. So with Texas residency, it is for purposes of confirming your Texas residency. Basically, you'll just fill out your application, answer, well, definitely complete your application, answer questions about residency and the proof of residency section. After that, you will submit your application. Whenever you do, the system will, well, sorry, let me backtrack. So, whenever you fill out the residency section in your application, you will receive an initial determination. That is the system making that determination based on how you answer the responses to the questions that are on that section. This is not finalized because we still need a person to review the information. So if you see that it's non-resident, don't freak out. It's going to be looked at. Whenever you submit your application, at that point, during the processing stage, a residency specialist will review your residency case, how you answer those questions. The system would have already prompted you to submit some documents, most likely. So if you can, go ahead and submit everything that it is asking for you, asking of you, and just making sure that you have that uploaded as soon as possible. If there's any documents you don't have, just upload what you have. Make sure to send a message. Let us know what kind of documents you're unable to obtain. That way, whenever the residency specialist is looking over your application, they will see that on your application messages, and be able to direct you as to what other documents you can submit. Uh, Once all that is reviewed, any additional documents that they request from you, that is also reviewed, and then a final determination will be made. If that is Texas resident, you're all set. If it's not, you can submit a residency appeal, and then that information can be found in our website. So go ahead and list that in the chat. This is also true for course appeals. So if there's a course that you believe would count for the prerequisites, but it's not listed on your PCR, if you do need to submit a course appeal, well, first of all, I would say ask the question. See maybe if there's some another reason why that course is not showing up as a prerequisite. If it leads to where you do need to submit an appeal, I can put the link in the chat for y'all's reference. All right, so let's see if I have any other questions. All right, Yvonne. Okay, so some people who have interviewed for Texas A&M and Med are only seeing Texas A&M on their TMDSAS portal available for ranking. Would NMED show up separately or not? Great question. So, the only program you can rank is the MD program, not the dual degree, or this other special program. For the Team DCS match, you're only ranking the MD program. So, if you, I think we do have some information about that. Let me try to find it in our newsroom. With dual degree programs or special assured programs or any of those other programs, besides the MD program only, typically you will be notified of acceptances by those programs or the committees that have those, but not through the ranking TMDSAS match process. All right. Okay, so I did find the information. This is from an article that we did post last year. So I already checked. It has the dates are still the same, so that looks good. I'll go ahead and post it in our chat. And so this is the article that I'm referring to. But basically, The dual degree program is separate from, it's a separate admissions process. Therefore, you are not ranking the dual degree program, just the MD program. So hopefully that helps. If not, let me know. And while I'm at it, I'll see if I can find information about these special assured programs as well. Alright, so I'm unable to find it right now, but it is similar advice, just like with the dual degree programs. It would be separate, and you would not be ranking that program, only the MD. I did want to make a note with this process. There's ranking, there's match, all of that information, but um, I will say that this is for Texas resident medical applicants. So if you are from out of state or non-resident, don't worry about this jargon, this language, as it can be confusing. So it doesn't apply to you. Don't worry about that. You actually have a separate process that is a little bit more straightforward. It's not as confusing with a lot of other dates to keep track of. And I'll go ahead and link that in the chat as well. Okay, so I know we do have, because we've been receiving, or applicants have been receiving acceptance offers as of October 15th, if you're a medical applicant. Um, Now we do have the acceptances. Interviews are still happening. Applicants are able to rank their school preferences. This is only if you're a Texas resident medical applicant. And so now we are getting a lot of questions about ranking. So I'll go ahead and link the article that we have as well. And this article is updated. It has all the information, all the dates that you need for ranking, match, what is match, and what comes after that. So I'll link that in the chat as well. Alrighty, so there's a couple of resources here that you can check out regarding what is happening at this point in the application cycle. Remember that although the Team DSAS application primary is due November 1st, That is not the end of your application journey with TMDSAS. After the application deadline, there are still things that you need to be mindful of and keeping in contact with us. As of right now, in this point in the application cycle, if you're a medical applicant, interviews did start as of August 1st. Interviews are still happening, I believe, up until the deadline for the rank, which would be Friday, February 2nd. So interviews should still be happening up until that point. And then you do have the match where so after you rank your schools, match day is a day that shows you what school you got matched to. And then after that, you have rolling admission. So there's a lot happening at this point in the cycle leading up to that point, as you definitely don't want to miss out on those things. All right, let's see. Oh, okay. So the 2023, yep, that should be updated to 2024. I know the dates are correct because I did look on our deadlines page. And February 2nd is the rank preference, and the 16th is match day. So it looks like our year is off. Thank you for letting us know about that. I'll make sure that our team can go back in here and make that update for that year. And then just to confirm, I'll also list the deadlines page so you can also use that as a reference for the upcoming dates and deadlines that will be happening throughout the rest of the cycle. Okay, so yes, I can confirm that February 2nd is the deadline for submitting your um, school rank preference. Must be entered by 5 p.m. Central Time. February 16th, we have the match. If you are a reapplicant and you did participate in the match in prior cycles, that date has been changed. So it used to be at the beginning of March because of the COVID-19 pandemic. During that cycle, I believe it was EY 2021, they made extensions on dates and deadlines, but now they brought it back to February 16th. So if you have been with us before and participated in the match, it used to be at the beginning of March. It is now back in February. All right. Okay, we have a question from Katie. Is UTRGV the only school that requires both primary and secondary by November 1st? Others are November 15th or later for secondaries. Great question. We actually don't know since we don't manage secondaries. That is up to the schools to decide when they want to make that deadline for their secondaries. It is possible. I have personally have heard feedback from applicants that that is the case with UTRGV. So if that is the case and you haven't yet submitted your application, your primary application, it might be in your best interest to go ahead and get that submitted prior to November 1st, just to ensure that we have time or that you have time to submit your application. It is completed, it gets processed. Right now, our team isn't taking that 4 week period that we were taking to process an application like it was at the beginning of the cycle. So processing is a little bit quicker, but it still needs to process here before getting sent out to the schools. So that takes some time, and that way it gets to UTRGV and you are able to complete your secondaries. So the only information we have for secondaries is what the schools provide us. Um, that is found in the next steps after submitting. So I'll go ahead and share that link. Okay, so that information in the application guide is it only has information as to what schools require a secondary application, how you will be notified to complete it, and how much it will cost. So the schools manage the secondary application portals, and I believe only school, well, there's a TCOM does allow you to create your secondary or access this account portal at any time, as applicants will not receive an email invitation to complete the secondary application. It's just available for you to complete it. It looks like with the other schools, they do send you an email invitation to complete it and a link to their portal and information. Okay. So just to reiterate, Katie, it sounds like if you are applying to UTRGV and you haven't submitted your application yet, you will want to make sure that you get that primary application submitted as soon as possible, preferably before that November 1st date, since your secondary would also be due on November 1st. And it looks like UTRGV will send you an invite to complete that secondary upon receiving your primary. So you'll definitely want to make sure you get that completed as soon as possible. All right. Well, these have been great questions. I want to appreciate everyone for coming out and tuning in, asking questions. This session is available. The recording will be available after we end the session on YouTube. So if you need to refer back to it, or if you know anyone who could benefit from this and couldn't attend this time during the session, you are always welcome to watch this at a later time on the YouTube channel page. So this session will be labeled as TMDSA's office hours, and it'll have today's date, which is October 24th. Okay, from Yvonne. Thank you, Salima. Yeah, no problem. If you guys have any questions, I'm here for just a few more minutes. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and end the session. And one last reminder, so the office hours that we have are year round and offer during the application, the active primary application period. So from the beginning of the cycle in May up until the application deadline is when we offer the office hours. We have tried to have them in the past in the off season, but it's at that point, it would be mostly geared for specific topics, typically revolving around rank preference, match, transcript information, etc., which would be in February. So, other than that, we don't really typically offer office hours in the off season. So if you have any questions at any point later in the cycle and you have questions about your application, you can always send us a message in your TMDSAS application portal. That way, we can have your question attached to your application, and a team member will be able to address your question. So, even though we might not have these regularly scheduled weekly office hours in the off season, that doesn't mean that our support is taken away. We are definitely available for any questions and here to support you on this journey that can be exciting yet confusing, stressful, but exciting at the same time. So, You can always send us a message in your TMDSAS application portal whenever you log in into your homepage at the top right hand corner. It'll say send a message to TMDSAS. You'll just compose your message, and then the turnaround time to hear a reply back from our team is within 2 business days. That is the fastest that our team can reply back to your message. And the reason for that is because we do have approximately about 9,000 applicants, and so we want to make sure that we're giving equitable time to each applicant and addressing their question. Okay. Have a question from Victor. I'm attempting to apply for dental school, which requires Physics 1 and 2 as prerequisites, but I'm barely taking Physics 1 this semester and Physics 2 next semester. The application does not let me proceed without a grade in either class. Am I still able to apply? Yes, absolutely. So with your physics course, it sounds like that will be Physics 1 will be listed in fall 2023. That will have a grade of NY for not yet reported. That is because right now you are still in that class, so you don't have a grade for it until the end of the semester. So what you'll do is list NY for the not yet reported grade. Whenever your grade does become available at the end of the semester, you will then go back. You can edit your grades at any time when they are labeled as NY. So you'll go back at the end of the semester, change the NY to your letter grade. With your Physics 2, that will have to be entered as a planned um, coursework, and you'll have to create a placeholder for it since that is for a future course. I definitely recommend that you follow along with the application guide to see how to enter your course information. So, with the grades, or specifically with your planned coursework, you can follow along with this link to see how to enter that. With your Physics 2 course, if you already have the course number, sounds like you have the course name, credit hours, you will list that in your spring 2024 term. Grade will also be NY since it's not yet reported. You haven't taken that course yet, so therefore you don't have a grade. And entering NY for those future courses will allow you to proceed with your application and be able to submit it. So just remember that you can always go back and add that final grade once you do have it. And this is important that you still enter in those future courses, even though you don't have grades for them yet, or if you have courses that you're not sure you will be taking. So maybe you do know you're taking your prereqs in the spring, but you don't know what other elective courses you'll be taking, or if there's a change in your course that you initially entered. All that still needs to be entered in your application so that way the schools can see that you are going to take those courses in the future and will be completing those prerequisites. And I did want to mention that with a lot of our applicants who are following the traditional route of applying after after their junior year, going into their senior year, it is very common that your prerequisites will not be completed by the time that you submit your application. And that's okay because that is the traditional route that a lot of our applicants take, and the schools are aware about this. So deficiencies and all that is not a scary thought. So yeah, just go ahead and enter the courses that you are planning to enter in the future. Okay. And the follow-up, during the payment screen, it asks me to complete the college coursework session, which didn't go away until I added the grade on the classes. Yeah, that's correct. It won't let you submit it because that is not completed. Again, all you need to do is enter the NY grade for those courses if that you don't have a grade for right now, and that is the way that you will be able to submit. And that's kind of serves as a way to make sure that your application is completed before you submit it. So if you have any other courses that were completed prior to summer 2023, those definitely have to have a grade. If those have an NY, that can also be why you're getting that error. So just be mindful of that. Take a look at that before you submit as well. Alrighty, well, let's see. Follow-up comments. Just enter the NY grade and allowed me to proceed. Thank you so much, and sorry for the small understanding. No worries. That is not a problem at all. That's what we're here for. But yeah, NY grade is for any courses that you don't have a grade for at the moment. But these can always be changed once you have your final grade. Well, this has been a great session, very engaging. I want to appreciate everyone for coming along, asking your questions, and being actively participating in the session. So, thank you all so much. Again, remember the application deadline for dental and medical applicants will be on November 1st at 11:59 p.m. That is next Wednesday, so that is quickly approaching. If you do have any questions, make sure to follow along with the application guide. Maybe reference back to our previous office hours. Take a look at the school panels. Those are filled with a lot of information, specifically for medical applicants, the dental school panel has a lot of information about the dental activities, what they want to see, how to format your activities, essays, coursework, all of that is mentioned in the school panel. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. And as always, you can always reach out to us via internal message via your TMDSAS application portal. That is all I have from for you guys, for me. So thank you all so much for watching. And I hope you guys have the best of luck in this application cycle. Bye, everyone.